Welcome back everyone to another episode of This Week in Comics. My name is Yule, and every week I preview comics that I'm looking forward to. I also review ones that I've read, but before that, let's get into the top 5 comic books that we sold at Fantastic Comics this week. The best sellers this week, starting with number 5, Barrier number 2. Number 4, Barrier number 1, which only beat Barrier number 2 by 1 comic. Number 3, we have Justice League, No Justice number 1. Number 2 goes to Batman White Knight number 8, the finale of the great Sean Gordon Murphy series. And taking the top spot, number 1, we have Monstress number 16. Excellent art as always, and one of the store's bestsellers. I read a lot of good comics last week, and I'm gonna let you know what I felt about some of them, and you already know. Let's review anyway. First up this week we have Domino number 2. Domino is written by Gail Simone with art by David Baldeón, whose work in this book I really appreciate. The first issue ended on a cliffhanger, and that gets resolved within the first few pages of this issue. I don't know how Spider-Man got to San Francisco. I don't remember seeing him in the last issue, but whatever. I really like the characterization between Domino and Spider-Man, and Domino and Deadpool. And her girlfriends are pretty cool too, as they continue to try to find out more about this mysterious old man and his accomplice that took Domino's powers away. The end of this issue ends in a cliffhanger, and I thought the action in the book was really good. I definitely recommend picking up Domino. I was kind of leery at first on whether or not I was going to really enjoy this series, but I'm digging it right now, so I recommend picking it up. Next up this week we have a Hunt for Wolverine miniseries called Adamantium Agenda. This is the number 1 issue, and it is written by Tom Taylor with fantastic art by R.B. Silva. I gotta say, I have read books that he's worked on in the past. I mean, I think he just did some XMen Blue not too long ago. I don't know what's different in this book, but his stuff looks really sharp. I really enjoy it. Now let's get into the review. I don't know, I'm kind of tired about this Wolverine return anyway. And I wasn't really expecting to like this book, but I actually really did. It seems that Marvel, even though Brian Michael Bendis has left the company, they can't stay away from him. So they're taking a new Avengers timeline when Bendis wrote that. Part of this story is a flashback from that time period. It ties into the story. I like it a lot. I recommend picking it up if you want to see Spider-Man and Wolverine being part of the Avengers with Luke Cage. That's definitely a reason to pick this up. The story was well written, but like I said before, the artwork is the star of this comic. I'm going to read all 4 issues, if only for that reason alone. Next up we have Venom number 1, written by Donny Cates. He is the star of Marvel Comics' Thanos. He also worked on Doctor Strange and the Damnation miniseries that just came out, and he is becoming a very popular writer. The art on this book is by Ryan Stegman. He's done a lot of stuff for Marvel in the past, and he does a really good Spider-Man book. I say that because we're working on Venom now, and it looks equally good. I am personally not a Venom fan, and I really didn't want to read this book, but because of the creators on it, I had to give it a try. It's a number 1 issue. You have to give it a try. I gotta say, it was a good story. It's changing a bit of the Venom symbiote's past, his history. It seems that these creatures have actually been on Earth before and been militarized. And a person is trying to recruit Venom, who he thought was being inhabited by Flash Thompson. It's now Eddie Brock. I know that's a lot to take in. Doesn't matter, they want to try and rescue these people that were originally military Venom type people. Doesn't matter, pick up the book. It's interesting, it's scary. There's a lot of interior monologue, but it makes sense because Venom and Eddie are kind of talking to each other. So kind of passes the mustard when it comes to captions and thoughts. As far as me not liking it, it's okay. So pick up Venom. Next up we have Justice League No Justice #1. This is a 4-part weekly miniseries, so it's going to be coming at you really fast. It's written by Scott Snyder with art by Francis Manapul. This story takes place directly after the events of Dark Knight's Metal #6, which was another Scott Snyder miniseries that he wrote. At the end of that storyline, the Source Wall, which was a barrier from our multiverse to another multiverse, I guess, has been destroyed. And all manner of creatures are coming in, and it's up to the Justice League to defend Earth and everything. But Brainiac, one of Superman's main villains, has done all the calculations and realizes that only certain types of teams are going to be able to deal with all the problems that are coming on. So this story is all about getting everybody together, identifying the threat. It has a really cool last page kind of situation I don't want to tell you about. It is all to do with Amanda Waller. If you enjoy her and the Suicide Squad and the Justice League and big battles that are going to come, I recommend picking this up. I really enjoyed this issue quite a bit, and I can't wait to read the rest of it. And last this week we have Batman White Knight #8 by Sean Gordon Murphy. He has written and penciled the entire series, and what a fantastic job he's done. For those of you that have been reading it, you don't need much more than me saying I really enjoyed the ending. A lot of times a comic book is judged by the last story, and this doesn't fail in any way. It is a fantastic book. It was a fantastic series. There's like even at the end of this last issue, it's not just a wrap-up issue. There's a lot of action going on, and there's a lot of things that still have yet to be revealed that you don't even realize are going to be revealed. I really enjoy this series. It's definitely going up way high on the list of top Batman books. It might even crack a lot of people's top 5, maybe even top 3, depending on how much you've read of Batman. I personally am not that big a fan. I mean, I've read him ever since I was a little kid up until today, so I've read all sorts of Batman. I mean, you kind of have to if you read comic books, if you read superhero comics, you're going to at one time or another have your Batman time. This is a reason to get back into him as a character. This story was fresh and new and just something that was different than all the other Batmans you probably have ever read. I recommend this book highly. It's definitely going to be one of the top books on most people's list this year, definitely for 2018 books. Man, there are a lot of good books that are coming out this week, and I'm really excited to tell you about some of them. So here we go. First up this week, we've got Avengers #2. That's written by Jason Aaron with art by Ed McGuinness. At the end of the first issue, you saw the Celestials falling to Earth like they were getting beat up and thrown and they're dead. So the Avengers are going to have to take care of that. We also have the other members of the Avengers that are going to ultimately join up with our 3 main characters. Hopefully that'll happen this issue. Looking forward to it. Next up we have Cable number 157. I've really been enjoying this story where we're seeing a new villain that has actually been present in Cable's past adventures that we never knew about. It's spooky and dark, and there's a lot of hope in it, and I really enjoy seeing the new writers and artists work with past Cable story timelines and kind of filling them in. It's been really good, and I really recommend picking up Cable. He's going to be in a movie soon, so you might be interested in it. This next one is just a quick reminder that Gideon Falls #3 by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino is coming out. For those of you that have missed issues number 1 and 2, those are going to be reprinted. I highly recommend you come in and get all 3 if you haven't before, because it sells out really quick. If you like dark, mysterious mysteries that are spooky, this is definitely the series for you. Can I say that? Yeah, it's a great series. Next up we have another new Age of Heroes offering from DC, this time written by Scott Snyder with art by Andy Kubert. It's the New Challengers #1. For those of you that don't know who the Challengers of the Unknown are, they are like an old-timey DC group of normal humans that go out and explore weird situations. Maybe the predecessors to the Fantastic Four, since Jack Kirby was actually the artist back then on it. This is a new version, again written by Scott Snyder, who did all that Dark Knight's Metal stuff, and a classic Kubert. So I recommend picking it up. It's only a mini-series, so you don't have to invest a lot of time. I'm looking forward to it. And last up this week, we got a wedding to celebrate. Peter, Rasputin, blah 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 blitch, and Kitty Pryde are gonna be getting married. It's the wedding of the century. If you don't count Batman and Catwoman and, oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, X-Men are gonna get married. It's gonna be written by Guggenheim. It's gonna be written by Kelly Thompson. It looks like we're gonna have some separate bachelor parties going on. But the real reason to pick this book up is that old-timey X-Men scribe Chris Claremont is writing it, and we don't get to see him do the X-Men too often, but when he does, it's always a warm feeling that gets in our X hearts. So I recommend picking up X-Men Wedding Special #1. There won't be a #2. Thank you everybody for watching another episode. Please visit your local comic store, and if you're in the area, come in and say hi to me. I'm here all the time, except Thursdays. And if you don't come in and see me but still want to talk, you can let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and like this video if you do. And if you can, please share it with some of your friends, especially if they like some comic books. And we'll see you next week.